Hey everyone, Synthetic Future here. So just as a really fast disclaimer, I'm definitely not a finger drummer person. So that's about as good as it gets. Today I want to take a look at Algonaut Atlas. And the reason I want to look at it right now is because it's on sale, which is always awesome, 50% off. Now Atlas is a drum sampler organizer tool. And you can somewhat compare it with the more recently released XLN XO. Now the big difference being that XO is a lot more expensive, especially since Atlas is now on sale. But there's also a lot of functionality difference here going on, so there's more than just it being similar, it's also very different. Right now let's just mention that I'm using Ghost Hack drum samples. If you're looking for really affordable, really cool drum samples, definitely check out Ghost Hack. They have a lot of stuff, and they have a lot of stuff on sale right now, of course, with all the Black Friday madness. So check it out. Really big packs, 200 plus samples, $8. Really good stuff. Oh, and you also get discounts apparently. So there you go. Free promotion for Ghost Hack out of the way. Let's dive into Atlas. So what I have going on here, and this is where I'll have to grab my second camera for a little bit. This is also the most complex recording setup I've ever had. I have my Akai MPK Mini connected to my DAW. So it's all MIDI mapped to this really interesting interface. So let's dive into the interface a little bit. Down here you have your drum sounds loaded in. You can set this to various sizes. Right now it's a 1x8 because the Akai MPK Mini only has 8 drum pads. You can also set it to 2x8, or you can go even bigger, 4x4, 8x8. Which is pretty insane. This also means you can map it to like the MIDI controllers like I have, but you can also map it to a full-size drum kit quite easily. You just have to set up all the things correctly for it to work. A little bit of work, definitely worth it. So what you're looking at right now is what they call a drum map. Now you can make as many maps as you want. Right now I have the Ghost Hack map selected. This has all the samples I have from Ghost Hack in it. If you select new, you can give it a name, you can give it a color, and you can add your drum folders. Now the really smart thing this does is it automatically categorizes all your drum sounds into a map. So right now you see here in the bottom, let's zoom out a little bit, there we go, you have kicks here, hi-hats here, rides, snares, crashes, claps, toms, and you can zoom all the way in. As you can see, there's quite a few samples hidden here, and it can handle a lot more. If I go to my all map, which does mean I'll lose this preset, but that's fine. Here we go, this is my all map. There's a lot of samples in here. All sorts of random stuff. So let's just jump back into this map. It's a little bit more organized. So down here you have your different samples. So right now it's kick, snare, clap, tom, second tom, hi-hat, hi-hat open, and another sort of tom-like thing. You can actually, this is not the most interesting sound, you can just hit the randomize. And it will grab a new sound. So it's really interesting. You can play around with it. Upon starting the plugin, this entire row will be empty, and you can select a new kit to load in a kit, and you can go from there. So let's say we like this kick, we like this snare, don't care too much about that. Do like the hi-hats, we can actually lock these in place and generate only new sounds for those few locations. So that's really cool, and especially if you have a lot of samples, you'll probably miss out on a lot of sounds, so you can just hit randomize and get some samples you may have never found otherwise. So it's a cool way to play around with it. Now, one downside is there isn't a search function, so you can't say, oh, I like this kick and it belongs to a certain set of sounds, so now I can just load in this entire set. That unfortunately doesn't work. However, you can, if you like this kick, open the folder where this kick is stored. And from there you can look it up. So in this case it's the synthetic drums kit from Ghost Hack. So if you like that, you can maybe make a map just from the synthetic drums and build a kit from there on. There's a lot of possibilities. Aside from playing with a controller, you can also just do your usual drum kit building by dragging the samples into your DAW. If it wants to, there we go. And you can build your drum kit that way as well. So if that's your workflow, you can definitely do that. And use this as a way to find new kits and create new kits. Aside from just like messing around with it, you can like and dislike them. If you dislike something, it will avoid the sound when making a new kit. If it likes it, it will favor the sound when you make a new kit. You can also edit your kit. Now this is basically, you can set the start point of your sample and the end point, and you can make it fade in or fade out. It's not the most complex and deep way of editing, but this is definitely something you'll use the most. You can fix the velocity. So that's a really cool feature to have if you're going for that really undynamic, hard-hitting electronic sound. Aside from this editing page, you also have these editing knobs where you can set the gain, and this is for every individual pad. So if I set the gain here and I go to a different pad, it will snap to the gain that's set for that specific pad. Double click resets. You can also set the shape, so right now it's not doing anything. Actually, let's use that fixed velocity for a bit. So shape. Changes the attack. You also get a filter. To the left is low pass, to the right is high pass. You can also pitch your drums. Up and down 1 octave. You can pan, of course, your drums. And there's a switch for a second row of editing options. So the shape curve determines the curve of the shape control. There's also filter resonance if you want to add some resonance to your filters. So there you can hear that resonance. Maybe you can push it a little bit further even. So that's really cool, and you can fine-tune your drums. Now with a kick drum that isn't very interesting, but with a snare that definitely can make the difference between it sounding right and sounding wrong. and that's your basic controls down there. You can also set the root note for your MIDI. So for this specific controller I'm using right now, it has to be set to C0. But interesting enough, if you play back MIDI now, it doesn't work, because this MIDI is written in C1. Lovely little trap beat right there. What more is there to say? If you have a sample selected, you can quickly look it up in your map by hitting the little button, so you can see where it is. Related sounds are placed close to it. Less related sounds are placed further away. So if you're looking for a very similar sound, you can click one that's right next to it. If you want something really different, you click further away. And you can also set Channelouts, and this is something that a lot of people will probably be interested in, because this allows you to set effects per sample. Now, big difference with XO right here, right now. First off, with XO you can't just click and drag around and get all the sounds going. Atlas can't do that, unfortunately, even though that's a very nice feature to have. Another big difference being that Atlas does not have built-in effects. So for all your effects, aside from these basic editing tools, you are going to rely on external effects. Now, most DAWs, this is a really easy job. You can just create some new outputs. You can actually create up to 16 outputs, so that's 32 because it's stereo, of course. And you can route these in your DAW. So let's just set that up for... Now let's go for channel 2. So let's say we want the snare to be channel 2. We click channel 2. This doesn't do anything. We can route this one. Say we want the stereo audio from 3 and 4 into here. And now it's routed to another channel where you can put your effects and edit it. You can actually see it. If I do this, you can like put a black hole on it or something. Because if there's one way to spice up your drums, it's black hole. There we go. So that doesn't affect any of the other sounds aside from the snare. So this way you still have a lot of flexibility with your routing. As said, you can play MIDI into this, you can use MIDI maps, you can use whatever MIDI you want. If you have downloaded MIDI drum sets, you can use those. Just make sure the mapping is according to what they use here. They also include some MIDI clips in Atlas, although this is a really limited library and it's pretty generic things. I'm set to the wrong channel. So we have a little mapping mismatch going on here, but you get the idea. And you can also import user clips into the Atlas environment. So the big difference being between XO and here is no built-in effects, no built-in sequencer, no dragging and dropping things around. Now for me, considering the price difference, I'm totally fine with that. I usually use this just to have easy access to a lot of sounds, to organize them, to find new sounds you've never chosen before, and to have your drums nicely limited to one single track instead of using like 10 or 15 tracks for different drum pieces. That being said, Atlas does not allow you to layer drum sounds, so that's a little bit of a shame if that's your thing. But of course you can always do that by either adding a second atlas with the second set of sounds, or just, as demonstrated, dropping the sounds into a second track to achieve the same effect. So that was my look at Atlas. I hope you found it interesting. If there are any questions, leave them in the comments. Definitely check out my Instagram, and that's it for now. Have a nice day.